They used to say the moon chose everyone. That when the right night came, the right age, the right pull in your blood, your wolf would rise. They said it like it was mercy. Like it was guaranteed. They said it to every child in the kingdom of Lithorian. Every child except me. Because by 16, everyone had felt something. A whisper. A dream. A heat under the skin. By 17, most had shifted. By 18, the late bloomers were already being quietly watched. And by 19, you were either chosen, or you were me. Wolfless. Unmarked. Unclaimed by the moon. Unclaimed by anything. I learned early that the kingdom did not know what to do with girls like me. Girls who could not run with the packs. Who could not train with the warriors. Who could not feel the sacred pull everyone else spoke of in hushed, reverent voices. So they found other uses. Quiet ones. Invisible ones. They let me clean the palace corridors at dawn when the nobles still slept. They let me serve wine at feasts where no one looked at my face. They let me sit at the farthest edge of the lower court during ceremonies, close enough to watch, never close enough to matter. They called me Circe, but never with importance. Never with weight. Never with want. Except for one person. Prince Jasper. The second son. The golden one. The smile of the court. The wolf everyone adored. I had been 8 the first time I saw him. He was 10, already tall for his age, hair pale as summer wheat, eyes bright with laughter as he shifted for the first time in the palace gardens. Everyone cheered. Everyone cried. Everyone said there. That is what a true prince looks like. I stood behind a hedge, hands dirty from pulling weeds, heart in my throat. And something in me reached. Not like a bond. Not like a wolf. Like hope. From that day on, Jasper became the quiet dream of my small, empty world. He was never cruel to me, which somehow made it worse. He nodded when I passed. Smiled when I served him. Once, when I was 12, he thanked me for bringing him water after training. I did not sleep that night. By 15, I knew better. I knew I was a fantasy to myself alone. A wolfless girl did not dream of princes. She survived. She stayed small. She stayed useful. But the heart is a disobedient thing. And mine had already chosen. Welcome to Floxy's Shifter Romance Tales. Before we dive in, I'd love your support. Kindly hit the likes button and let the story hit 200 likes. Also, subscribe, drop a comment, and tell me where you're listening from. Your engagement means the world to me. Now let's begin. The night of the Moon Ascension Ball was supposed to be about Prince Jasper. His formal declaration. The ceremony where he would finally announce he was ready to take a chosen mate. The entire kingdom buzzed with it. Girls whispered. Packs strategized. Noble families polished their daughters like offerings. And I was assigned to serve wine. That was all. I stood at the edge of the upper hall, tray balanced on my palms, watching crystal light fracture across silver banners, watching wolves dance, laugh, glow. The music swelled. The scent of heat and magic and power filled the air. And then, Jasper entered. He wore white and gold, ceremonial colors of the second air. His presence rippled through the hall. Not dominance. Charisma. The kind that made people lean forward. Smile. Hope. He laughed as nobles greeted him. Accepted bows. Spoke easily. And I felt the familiar ache open in my chest. I was invisible again. Just as I had always been. But then something strange happened. The air shifted. Not with excitement. With awareness. The torches flickered. The wolves near the far columns stilled. A hush crept in from the edges of the hall inward. And I felt it too. Not heat. Not pull. A pressure. A gravity. My breath caught. I knew before anyone announced him. Before the guards struck their spears. Before the nobles turned. King Silas had arrived. The first heir. The Alpha King. Jasper's older brother. The one no one spoke of casually. He did not enter like Jasper. He did not smile. He did not charm. He simply was. Tall. Broad-shouldered. Dressed in black and deep midnight blue. Dark hair bound at his nape. His presence did not invite attention. It commanded it. Every wolf in the room felt him. Even me. And I had no wolf. The music softened. Conversations dimmed. Silas crossed the hall alone, his steps unhurried, his gaze unreadable. They said he had been born already carrying the weight of the crown. They said he had never laughed as a boy. They said he had taken his first shift without sound, without celebration, without fear. They said he had never taken a lover, never courted, never shown interest in anyone. They said he had been king long before his father died. I had seen him only a handful of times in my life. Always from a distance. Always on thrones or balconies or behind rings of guards. He was a shadow in a crown. A storm behind glass. And yet, as he moved through the hall, his eyes lifted and found me. Not brushed. Not passed. Found. My breath left my lungs. The tray trembled in my hands. It was not recognition. It was not desire. It was not anything I had ever felt before. It was the terrible sensation of being seen. Truly. Thoroughly. As if the world had narrowed and I stood suddenly, inexplicably, at its center. His gaze held mine. Unblinking. Dark. Unreadable. And something in my chest tightened painfully. I dropped my eyes. Because girls like me did not meet kings. Not even with their eyes. The ceremony began. The moon ascension. Blessings. Chants. Silver light through crystal. I served where I was told. Moved where I was directed. Kept my head bowed. But my awareness stayed locked to 2 points in the room. Jasper. Laughing. Greeting. Radiant. And Silas. Still. Observing. Watching from the throne near the dais. The kingdom waited for Jasper to choose. To step forward. To call a name. To invite a woman into the moonlight. I did not expect anything. I had learned better. But hope is not rational. And when the musicians softened, and Jasper turned toward the center of the hall, my heart beat so loudly I thought someone must hear it. He looked across the gathered court. Smiled. Lifted his chin. My people, he began. Applause rippled. I have been honored by your faith, your loyalty, and your patience. Tonight, under the full moon, I wish to. His gaze swept. Past noble daughters. Paused on familiar faces. And then, for the briefest moment, his eyes met mine. It was not dramatic. Not intense. Just contact. A flicker of recognition. And my foolish heart leapt. I wished to ask, Jasper continued, for the blessing of this court to begin the path of choosing. The hall breathed out. Excitement. Relief. Expectation. Not a declaration. Only a beginning. But the way he had looked at me, it stayed. It burned. And when the musicians shifted into a slower, quieter melody, when couples began to gather and the formalities softened into something more intimate, I found myself moving without instruction. Toward the outer gardens. Toward the lantern-lit corridors that led beyond the hall. Toward air. I needed air. The night was cool, silvered by moonlight, the gardens hushed with climbing flowers and stone fountains. I stood near a marble arch, trying to slow my breathing. Trying to convince myself that the look had meant nothing. That it had been accident. That it had been wish. Circe. My name. Spoken aloud. By him. I turned. Jasper stood a few paces away, his expression uncertain, his ceremonial cloak loose around his shoulders. I thought it was you, he said lightly. My heart nearly stopped. You left the hall. I was needed elsewhere, I lied. He smiled. It was not the dazzling court smile. It was softer. Almost nervous. I wanted to thank you, he said. For always being kind. When we were young. You were always kind. The words were small. But they landed huge. I only did what was expected, I said. That isn't true, he replied. You always watched out for the younger servants. You never joined in when others. He trailed off. When others ignored me, pitied me, mocked me. I noticed, he finished. My throat tightened. That means more than you know, I whispered. Silence stretched. Charged. Strange. Then he stepped closer. Close enough that I could smell the faint spice of wine on his breath. Close enough that the world narrowed again. I was thinking, he said slowly. Perhaps tonight could be a beginning. My pulse roared. He lifted a hand. not quite touching my cheek. Hovering. Waiting. Every story I had ever told myself rose up in that moment. Every quiet dream. Every impossible imagining. The prince. The moon. The girl who was not chosen finally being seen. He leaned in. Slowly. Carefully. And I closed my eyes. The kiss was not what I expected. It was not light. It was not hesitant. It was firm. Warm. Claiming. His hand cupped my jaw. His body close. His breath deep and steady. And something in me shattered. Not with joy. With shock. Because the presence was wrong. The scent was wrong. The power was wrong. I opened my eyes. And met the gaze of the Alpha King. Silas. Not Jasper. Silas's hand held my face. His eyes dark. Burning. Awake. And he was already pulling back. Already releasing me. Already stepping away. The world tilted. What? I whispered. His jaw tightened. You were not meant to find out like this, he said quietly. My heart slammed. Behind him, Jasper stood frozen in the archway. His face pale. His eyes wide. His scent flaring with disbelief. And something else. Something sharp. Possessive. Unforgiving. Silas turned. The brothers faced each other. And the air between them ignited. I stood between them. The wolf-less girl. The invisible one. The one the entire kingdom had dismissed. And suddenly, two heirs were looking at me like something worth tearing the world apart for. And I still did not know the most dangerous truth of all. That the Silent King had already made his choice. Long before that kiss. The silence after the kiss was not empty. It was loaded. It rang. It pressed. It made the night feel too small for what had just happened. Silas stood a single pace from me, his body angled slightly, subtly, between me and Jasper. It was not dramatic. It was instinct. And it was the first time I realized he had been doing it for years. Jasper's voice broke the stillness. What did you just do? The words were soft. Too soft. That frightened me more than shouting ever could. Silas did not turn. She believed she was meeting you, he said calmly. My breath shuddered. I did, I whispered. Jasper took a step forward. Silas shifted half an inch. Blocking. I asked her to step outside, Jasper said. I was going to. I know, Silas replied. That made Jasper flinch. You know, he repeated. You know? Silas finally turned to face him. I know what you intended, he said. I also know you were not ready to carry it. Jasper laughed once. Short. Bitter. You kissed her. I corrected a lie. The words hit like a blade. My chest tightened. A lie, Jasper snapped. Silas's eyes cut briefly to me. Then back. You were not going to choose her, he said. Jasper's jaw clenched. You don't know that. Silas's voice lowered. Yes, he said. I do. The tension surged. Not dominance. History. Something old and sharp and unresolved. I stood there, heart racing, trying to catch up to a conversation that had clearly begun long before I entered it. Circe, Jasper said suddenly, turning to me. Look at me. I did. His expression was not cruel. But it was not kind either. It was unsettled. Off balance. You thought that was me, he said. Yes, I whispered. And you wanted it to be. The truth sat heavy in my throat. Yes. Something like regret flickered across his face. Then frustration. Then something colder. And you did not feel the difference? He asked. My hands trembled. I don't know what I felt, I said. I only know what I hoped. Silas's jaw tightened. Enough, he said quietly. Jasper's gaze snapped back to him. You don't get to decide what's enough, he said. You don't get to take something meant for me and tell me to swallow it. Silas stepped closer. You do not get to offer her a future you were never prepared to defend. Jasper bristled. You speak as though you know her. I do. Jasper's laugh was hollow. You don't speak to anyone. You don't attend the lower courts. You don't even look at most of the women who try to approach you. And you expect me to believe that I know her? Silas interrupted. Yes. Silas's gaze never left Jasper's. I know where she works, he said. I know which stairs she takes when she's tired. I know she feeds the smaller servants before she eats. I know she walks the eastern balcony when she cannot sleep. I know she presses her hand here when she's anxious. His eyes flicked to my ribs. I froze. Heat bloomed across my skin. Jasper stared at him, stunned. Silas went on. I know who makes her flinch. I know who doesn't. I know how many times she's been shorted rations and never spoken. I know how often she's assigned work beyond her station and never refused. I know she hums when she's nervous. I know she doesn't believe anyone sees her. My throat closed. And I know, he finished, that she believed in you because you were kind once. The night seemed to lean in. Jasper said nothing. His gaze shifted back to me. And I saw it then. Not love. Not longing. Disruption. I was not the dream. I was the complication. I never promised you anything, he said carefully. No, I whispered. You didn't. But you built something from glances and kindness, he continued. And now my brother has humiliated us both. Silas's voice cut through. You humiliated her every time you let her believe. That was never my intention. Intent does not erase consequence. Jasper turned sharply on him. You don't get to lecture me about consequences. You sit on a throne and watch the world orbit you. You don't know what it's like to be chosen for expectation instead of self. Silas did not raise his voice. You think I was ever chosen? The question landed like thunder. Jasper's mouth opened. Closed. The weight between them deepened. Circe, Jasper said again. You should go. My stomach twisted. Go. I echoed. This is no longer appropriate, he said. You're tired. The night has become confused. Confused. As if the ground had not shifted. As if my life had not just cracked open. Silas spoke before I could. She will not be dismissed. Jasper rounded on him. You don't get to decide where she stands. Silas's gaze hardened. She stands where she chooses. I swallowed. I had never been asked that before. I looked between them. At the prince I had dreamed of. At the king who had never looked at anyone. And realized neither of them was what I had imagined. I choose to leave, I said. Both of them stilled. But not because I'm confused, I continued. Because I am not. They watched me. I drew a breath. I thought I was chasing something impossible, I said quietly. I thought I was foolish. Small. Invisible. I believed kindness was the same as seeing. My eyes met Jasper's. It isn't. His jaw tightened. Then I turned to Silas. And I believed silence meant indifference. His gaze darkened. It doesn't, he said. I know. My voice trembled. But it does mean something else. What? He asked. Distance, I whispered. And I don't know how to stand in it yet. I stepped back. Away from both of them. I need air, I said. I need to understand what just happened to me before the kingdom decides what it thinks it means. Jasper looked like he might speak. Silas raised a hand. Once. Jasper stopped. Silas turned to me. Where will you go? I don't know, I admitted. He nodded slowly. I do. He gestured toward the darker path winding along the garden's edge. There is a lower passage beyond the fountains, he said. It leads to the east wing. No one will follow you there. How do you know? I asked. Because I made sure of it. Something in his tone made my skin prickle. You made sure. I have been making sure of many things, he replied. I searched his face. For arrogance. For possession. For manipulation. I found none. Only something contained. Something steady. Something that had been waiting. I turned and walked away before either of them could say more. The passage was narrow and cool, lit only by small crystal nodes set into the stone. My footsteps echoed softly. My hand shook. My heart raced. I pressed my back to the wall near the first bend and slid down, breath coming in short, uneven pulls. The kiss replayed. Not the sensation. The presence. The power. The terrible clarity of being wrong and right at the same time. Silas had not kissed like a man taking. He had kissed like a man recognizing. And that frightened me. I did not know how long I sat there. Only that the palace noise dimmed. Only that my wolf-less body still felt aware. As if something had brushed past me and left heat behind. Circe. I looked up. Silas stood a few paces away. Alone. No guards. No crown. Just black fabric, dark hair, and eyes that did not look away. You should not be here, I whispered. I know. Jasper is being occupied, he said. With what? The realization that things do not move as he expected. My chest tightened. And you? I am where I intended to be. I frowned. You intended to kiss me in a garden and unravel the court? No, he said. I intended to make sure you were not claimed by a future you did not choose. The words sank in. You think I was about to be claimed. I know you were. By him. By expectation. Silas stepped closer. Slow. Careful. Circe, he said. How long have you believed yourself to be unchosen? I hesitated. Since I was old enough to notice. He nodded. And how long have you believed that was your fault? My throat tightened. I don't know how else to understand it. He studied me. You stand in a kingdom built on wolves, he said. On power, lineage, bond. You were born without one of the things this world reveres most. He paused. And yet you are here. I said nothing. You endure, he continued. You observe. You protect those smaller than you. You move where no one looks. You listen when no one speaks. You survive. I swallowed. That is not absence, he said. That is a different form of strength. My hands curled in my lap. You don't know me. His gaze softened. I have been watching you since you were 12, he said. The words landed like a bell. 12. I whispered. You tripped on the eastern steps carrying bread, he said. You tried to apologize to the stones. I almost laughed. My heart stuttered. You were there. Yes. Why? I asked. Silas hesitated. Just once. Because you were the only person in that corridor who did not react to my presence. I blinked. You walked past me, he said. And did not bow. Did not stiffen. Did not pretend. You simply moved. I didn't see you, I said weakly. That, he replied, is not what unsettled me. He lowered himself to sit across from me on the stone. Not above. Not imposing. I am watched every moment, he said. Measured. Weighed. Desired. Feared. You did none of those. Because I didn't matter, I whispered. Because you did not know you were meant to. My breath caught. You think I'm meant to matter. I know you already do. The silence that followed was not heavy. It was open. What happens now? I asked. Silas's gaze flicked briefly to the far corridor. Now, he said, the court will fracture. My stomach sank. Jasper will not accept this quietly. No, Silas agreed. He has never been good with things he cannot resolve into roles. And you? I will not allow you to become a symbol in his frustration. And if I don't want protection? I asked. Then I will not cage you, he replied. But I will not abandon you. The words were not romantic. They were not grand. They were dangerous in their simplicity. You don't know what you're inviting, I said. I do, he answered. And I am inviting it anyway. I looked at him. At the king who did not look at anyone. At the man who had known the sound of my nervous hum. At the presence my body still remembered. Why? I whispered. Silas held my gaze. Because long before you dreamed of my brother, he said, I chose you. The truth settled. Slow. Terrible. Reorienting. You chose me? Yes. For what? For what you are. And what am I? I asked. His voice lowered. The girl this kingdom overlooked, he said. And the woman it will one day answer to. A chill traced my spine. That sounds like a threat. It is, he said softly. To everyone who taught you to be small. I closed my eyes. The palace felt too close. The future too sharp. I don't know how to stand where you're pointing, I admitted. Silas did not reach for me. He did not move. Then don't, he said. Not yet. I opened my eyes. Just walk, he continued. And let me make sure the ground beneath you does not give way. Something in me shifted. Not toward him. Toward possibility. I never asked to be seen, I whispered. No, he replied. You asked to be real. The corridor breathed around us. Above us, the kingdom whispered. And I realized. The kiss had not begun the story. It had exposed it. And whatever Silas had chosen. It was already rewriting everything. The kingdom did not sleep after scandal. It watched. By morning, the palace no longer felt like corridors and stone. It felt like a body holding its breath. Every servant's step paused too long, every guard's gaze lingered too sharply, every whisper curved when it passed me. The kiss had not stayed in the garden. It had grown teeth. I woke in a small chamber off the east wing, one I had passed 100 times without knowing it held rooms at all. Silas had brought me here before dawn, silent, steady, walking at my side rather than ahead. No guards. No spectacle. Only doors that opened when he touched them. This room was sealed years ago, he'd said quietly. No one comes here without my consent. I had not known what that meant. I knew now. It meant protection. It also meant possession. And I did not yet know how to separate the two. I sat on the edge of the narrow bed, fingers clenched in the fabric of a borrowed gown, listening to the palace breathe beyond the walls. Somewhere above me, nobles were gathering. Somewhere below, servants were trading stories. Somewhere between, Jasper was waking to a world that no longer moved the way he expected. A knock came. Soft. Controlled. I stood. The door opened before I reached it. Silas. He wore no crown. No ceremonial mantle. Only a dark tunic, his hair loose at his shoulders. His gaze moved over me. Not appraising. Checking. You slept, he said. A little. Did you dream? I hesitated. Yes. Of what? Of running, I admitted. And not knowing what I was running from. His jaw tightened faintly. That will pass. I studied him. How can you be so sure? Because it already has, he replied. He gestured toward the small table near the window. Bread. Fruit. Tea steaming faintly. You haven't eaten. I wasn't hungry. You were shaking when you left the garden. My hands stilled. I'm not anymore. That doesn't mean your body isn't. I sighed and crossed the room, more to end the moment than because I wanted the food. He didn't follow. Didn't crowd. Only watched as I took a piece of bread, tore it, forced myself to swallow. Everyone knows, I said. Yes. How? Because Jasper left the hall before the music ended. And he did not pretend. I closed my eyes. What does that mean for me? Silas did not answer immediately. It means, he said carefully, that the court will decide what you are. A chill traced my spine. And what am I? That, he said, is what I am not allowing them to do without you. I looked up. You speak like this is a negotiation. It is. With who? With every power that believes blood decides worth. I swallowed. And Jasper? Silas's gaze darkened. Jasper believes feeling entitles him to outcome. The words rang. That is not the same thing, he continued, as choice. The knock came again. Harder. Urgent. Silas turned. Enter. The door opened. A guard stepped in, bowed, eyes flicking briefly to me before snapping back to Silas. My king. Prince Jasper requests audience. Silas's posture shifted. Not aggressive. Prepared. He is already in the upper council chamber, the guard added. With 3 houses. I froze. He brought supporters, I whispered. Silas's gaze did not leave the guard. Which houses? Raverin. Coldmere. And Thorn. The names meant little to me. But Silas's jaw tightened. They move quickly. Yes, my king. You may go. The guard bowed and left. The door closed. Silence rushed in. 3 houses, I repeated. Because of me. Because of uncertainty, Silas corrected. You are simply where it surfaced. And what does he want? Silas looked at me. To formalize what he believes the kiss entitles him to. My breath caught. He thinks. He believes, Silas said quietly, that what he witnessed binds you into the choosing. That's not how that works. Not for him, Silas replied. But he does not live by what works. He lives by what has always worked. And that is being wanted. The words felt sharp. I stood. What are you going to do? Silas studied me. First, he said, I am going to hear him. And then I am going to refuse him. Fear stirred. Silas. I will not negotiate you. Then he will push harder. Yes. Then he will come for me. Silas's eyes darkened. He will try. A knock again. This time different. Formal. Silas exhaled slowly. They are ready. I took a step back. I don't belong in a council chamber. You belong wherever you stand, he replied. But you are not required to witness this. I want to, I said. He searched my face. Not for obedience. For resolve. You may hear things, he warned. That will hurt. I already have. Silas inclined his head, then extended his hand. Not commanding. Offering. I looked at it. At the scar across his knuckles. At the steady strength in his fingers. I took it. The palace shifted around us as we walked. Corridors widened. Ceilings rose. Air cooled. We entered the upper wing, where stone was darker and sound carried less. 2 guards opened the council doors. The chamber waited. Long table. High seats. Carved emblems of every great house. And at the far end, Jasper. He stood, not seated. 3 noble lords and 1 lady flanked him. Their gazes snapped to me. Interest. Calculation. Curiosity. Contempt. Jasper's eyes locked on mine. Not warm. Not confused. Certain. Brother, he said. You took your time. Silas released my hand. Not distancing. Positioning. You summoned the court without me, Silas replied. That is not tradition. Neither is stealing a woman from the choosing, Jasper shot back. The chamber stirred. My heart slammed. I stole nothing, Silas said calmly. I prevented a lie. Jasper turned to the council. You see, he demanded. He speaks as though he decides what truth is. Silas moved to his seat. Did not sit. Speak your purpose, he said. Jasper squared his shoulders. I intend to formalize interest in Circe of the lower court, he announced, and request the king's blessing to pursue her as a chosen mate. The words struck like stones. Silas's voice did not rise. No. The refusal was immediate. Absolute. Jasper stiffened. You cannot deny me without cause. I have cause. Name it. She is not yours to choose. Jasper laughed once. Harsh. She is not yours either. Silas's gaze flicked briefly to me, then returned. No, he said. She is not. The council murmured. Jasper's jaw clenched. Then you will stand aside. Silas shook his head. No. Why? Because you are not seeing her. Jasper's eyes flashed. You think I don't see a woman standing in front of me? I think, Silas said evenly, you see a disruption to your future. The room held its breath. Jasper stepped forward. You think I haven't watched her? Haven't noticed how she moves? How she speaks? How she disappears, Silas interrupted. Jasper's mouth snapped shut. You never knew her name until last night, Silas said. You never spoke it until it embarrassed you. You never looked for her until you felt something was taken. That's not true. Then tell me, Silas said quietly. What does she fear? Jasper's eyes flicked to me. Back. What makes her feel safe? Silence. What stare does she avoid? Silas pressed. What food does she hide for later? What sound makes her flinch? Jasper's fists clenched. You are making this personal. Yes, Silas said. Because it is. One of the noble lords spoke. My king, with respect, this woman is unbonded. Wolfless. She has no standing. Prince Jasper's interest would elevate her. I felt something cold slide into my spine. Silas's gaze cut to the man. She is standing in my hall, he said. She is standing. Another voice. Then claim her, Lady Thorne said. And end this. The room went very still. My breath stopped. Silas did not look away from her. No, he said. The refusal rippled. Then release her, Jasper said sharply. If you will not claim her and will not bless me, you leave her unprotected. Silas turned slowly. Looked at him. You believe protection is possession. And you believe silence is virtue. Silas stepped forward. You are not prepared for her. And you are. Silas's gaze flicked to me again. Not claiming. Acknowledging. I am prepared, he said, to let her decide. The chamber erupted. You would put the future of the crown in the hands of a wolfless girl, someone scoffed. Silas's voice cut through. I would put it in the hands of someone who has lived without power and not let it rot her. Jasper's face hardened. You are letting sentiment dismantle order. No, Silas replied. I am letting truth expose weakness. Jasper took another step. Then let us ask her. Every gaze swung to me. The air thickened. Circe, Jasper said. Do you wish to be courted by me? The question hung. Not gentle. Strategic. I felt the room tilt. Silas did not look at me. Did not guide. Did not rescue. He had meant it. Choose. I swallowed. For years, this would have undone me. The prince. The question. The recognition. I would have said yes just to feel chosen. I looked at Jasper. At the beauty. The familiarity. The past I had imagined. And saw. Someone who had only turned when the world made him. No, I said. The word rang. Jasper stiffened. You don't understand what you're refusing. Yes, I said softly. I do. You would rather stand in his shadow, he demanded. I shook my head. I would rather stand in my own. Silas's breath shifted. A noble hissed. Jasper stared. You're rejecting me. I am choosing myself. You think that protects you? No, I admitted. But it belongs to me. Jasper's gaze burned. You are making a mistake. Maybe, I said. But it's mine. Silas finally turned to look at me. And something in his eyes broke open. Not triumph. Not relief. Something like recognition meeting recognition. Jasper laughed. Low. Unpleasant. Then don't pretend this ends, he said. You may refuse me in words. But bonds, power, and courts do not move because a servant girl feels brave. I met his gaze. I'm not a servant girl, I said. The chamber quieted. What are you then? He challenged. I drew a breath. I'm the woman who stood between two heirs and did not vanish. Silas spoke. And she stands under my protection. Jasper turned sharply. You will cage her. No, Silas replied. I will guard her. There's no difference. There is, Silas said. You just don't benefit from it. Jasper looked between us. And something in his eyes shifted. Calculation. If she remains here, he said, she becomes a fault line. Yes, Silas agreed. And fault lines break kingdoms. They also reveal where the pressure lies. Jasper exhaled sharply. This is not over. Silas inclined his head. No. Jasper turned. And walked out. The council murmured. Some disapproving. Some thoughtful. Some wary. Silas raised one hand. The chamber fell silent. This court is dismissed, he said. Until it remembers that power without consent is rot. They left. One by one. When the doors closed, the air rushed back into the room. I swayed. Silas was there instantly. Not touching. Near. You did well, he said quietly. I feel like I just stepped off something and don't know if there's ground. There is, he replied. It's just not familiar yet. I looked up. What happens now? Silas's gaze went to the doors. Now Jasper stops being disappointed, he said. And starts being dangerous. A chill slid down my spine. And me? Now, he said, turning back to me, you stop being overlooked. The words felt heavier than any crown. The first thing that changed was the way people looked at me. Not openly. Not boldly. But carefully. As though I had become something unstable. Something that might fracture if handled the wrong way. Or explode. Servants bowed where they never had before. Guards no longer waved me past corridors, I was escorted. Noble women whispered and went quiet when I entered rooms. And the silence around Silas deepened. He did not parade me. He did not place me at his side in court. He did not make declarations. Which somehow made everything louder. Because no one could place me. I was not claimed. I was not dismissed. I was unresolved. And unresolved things make kingdoms nervous. I was given new chambers, still in the East Wing, still quiet, but no longer hidden. Windows looked out over the forest instead of the lower city. My meals were delivered by the same woman every day, her hands always shaking slightly as she set the tray down. She called me my lady. I had never been anyone's lady. I spent most of the first 2 days pacing, touching walls, looking out windows, trying to feel like I had not been moved into someone else's life without my permission. Silas did not come often. When he did, it was brief, measured. He would ask if I had eaten, if I needed anything, if the guards were respectful. Not once did he mention the kiss. Not once did he speak of Jasper. Not once did he frame me as anything. And yet, I felt him. Not like a bond. Like weather. The palace breathed differently when he was near. The third night, sleep refused me entirely. My chest felt full of something restless. Not fear. Not anticipation. A pressure. Like a door I didn't know how to open. I wrapped myself in a shawl and slipped into the corridor. The guards bowed but did not stop me. The palace at night was a different place. Quieter. Older. I followed instinct more than memory, moving through passages that curved inward, downward, until the stone cooled and the air smelled faintly of earth. I realized where I was when I saw the arch. The old Western Gallery. Closed for decades. No court gatherings. No ceremonies. Just long windows and stone benches and statues whose names no one remembered. And at the far end, a single torch burned. Silas stood before a wall of carved reliefs, his back to me. He had removed his outer coat. His dark hair hung loose, brushing his shoulders. He looked human. Tired. I stopped a few steps behind him. "You shouldn't be here," I said softly. He did not turn. "Neither should you." I folded my arms. "Then we are equally disobedient." A corner of his mouth curved faintly. "That is becoming a pattern." He turned. His gaze settled on me. And something in his expression eased. Not guarded. Not royal. Just present. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked. "No. Neither could I." The admission felt intimate in a way nothing else had. "What is this place?" I asked, glancing at the stone carvings. "The old wing," he said. "Before the palace was polished. Before kings were performed." I stepped closer. The carvings showed wolves. Moons. Figures standing between. Some crowned. Some not. Some reaching into fire. "What are these?" "Records," Silas said. "Of what the crown once meant." "And what did it mean?" "Burden," he replied. "Not elevation." I traced a carving of a woman standing before a massive wolf. "She's not bowing," I murmured. "No," Silas said. "She's commanding." I frowned. "But she doesn't have a wolf." "No," he agreed. My fingers stilled. "What does that mean?" Silas studied the wall. Then me. "It means," he said quietly, "this kingdom was not always ruled by wolves alone." A chill traced my spine. "What are you saying?" "I am saying," he replied, "that what you think is missing may simply be something no one taught you to see." My breath caught. "You've been speaking in riddles since the garden." "Yes," he said. "Because truth changes shape when it is spoken too soon." I swallowed. "Silas, why me?" He did not answer immediately. He turned back to the wall. "I was 17 when my wolf first knelt," he said. "Knelt?" "To something that was not dominance," he clarified. "Not instinct. Recognition." He gestured to a carving of a man reaching toward a glowing figure. "My tutors told me it was myth. Old symbolic nonsense. But my wolf knew better." He faced me again. "And when I saw you, years later, walking past me without flinching, without bowing, without reacting to the thing everyone else felt." My heart pounded. My wolf did it again. The gallery felt smaller. "You felt something," I whispered. "Yes, but I don't have a wolf." Silas took one slow step closer. "Circe," he said gently. "Have you ever wondered why?" The question struck deeper than any insult ever had. "Of course I have." "Beyond fate," he pressed. "Beyond cruelty. Beyond the moon being careless." I looked away. "Because I'm empty." His jaw tightened. "No." "Then because I'm broken." "No." "Then because." "Because," he said, interrupting softly, "you are not a vessel." I looked at him sharply. "What does that mean?" "It means wolves are not born," he said. "They're answered." My pulse thundered. "I don't understand." "You are waiting for something to rise inside you," he continued. "Something to claim you. Something to fill you." "Yes," I whispered. "But what if," he said quietly, "you were never meant to be filled?" The words spread through me. Unsettling. Electric. "What if you were meant to be the space things answered to?" The torchlight flickered. "You speak like I'm something dangerous." Silas's gaze softened. "I speak like you are something forgotten." I shook my head. "This is too much." He did not push. Then let me speak plainly. He reached out. Not to touch. To gesture toward my chest. Have you ever felt the room change when you enter? I hesitated. Sometimes. Have you noticed how arguments soften around you? How children settle? How wolves who snarl at others do not bare their teeth at you? My breath stuttered. Yes. You thought it was invisibility, he said. It was influence. The word echoed. I don't influence anyone. Jasper shattered his certainty because of you, Silas replied. The council fractured. My wolf woke. The court listens differently. My hands trembled. You are not without power, he said. You are without language. The idea struck like a bell. What are you saying I am? Silas studied my face. Searching. Careful. I am saying, he said slowly, that some bonds do not manifest as wolves. The gallery seemed to hum. Some manifest as convergence. I pressed a hand to my ribs. Why hasn't anyone ever told me this? Because it disrupts the hierarchy, he replied. Because if the kingdom remembers what stands between wolves, it remembers that kings are not the center. And you remembered. I recognized. And you chose to, what? Watch me scrub floors and starve quietly while you held secrets that could change my life. His jaw tightened. I chose to protect what I did not yet understand. From what? From a kingdom that would try to shape you before you could stand. My eyes burned. You don't get to decide that. No, he said quietly. And I never wanted to. Then why didn't you come to me? Because if I had, he replied, you would have become a symbol before you became a person. The words struck painfully true. You let me be small, I whispered. I let you be unknown, he said. There is a difference. I turned away, walked a few steps, tried to breathe. All my life, I said, I thought I was lacking. Silas's voice softened. All your life, he said, you were unclaimed. The word felt different now. Not unwanted. Unpossessed. And Jasper? I asked. What does he feel? Silas's gaze darkened. He feels the absence of control. And what will he do about it? Silas did not soften that answer. He will test every boundary. A cold not formed in my stomach. He will come for me. Yes. And you. I will not hide you. Then what will you do? Silas stepped closer. Close enough that I could see the faint scar along his jaw. I will teach you to stand. My breath caught. Stand as what? As yourself, he said. Without shrinking. Without being translated. Without being used. A sound echoed faintly down the gallery. Footsteps. Silas's posture shifted instantly. Guarded. Jasper's voice cut through the stone. So this is where you keep her. The air went razor thin. Silas moved subtly in front of me. Jasper stepped into the torchlight. His expression was not angry. It was too calm. You didn't come to the Western galleries often, he said to Silas. Not even as boys. Silas did not answer. Jasper's gaze slid to me. There you are. Leave, Silas said. Jasper smiled faintly. You can't keep her in hallways forever. I'm not keeping her, Silas replied. I'm asking you to go. Jasper's eyes hardened. You've turned her into a spectacle. I prevented you from doing so. Jasper took a step closer. And what is she now, he asked. Your secret. Silas didn't move. She is under my protection. And if she doesn't want it? Silas glanced back at me. Not warning. Inviting. Jasper followed his gaze. Circe, Jasper said. Tell him. My heart pounded. Tell him what? That I was afraid. That I was overwhelmed. That everything inside me felt like it had shifted off its axis. I looked at Jasper. At the boy who had been kind. At the prince I had dreamed of. At the man who now stood before me like someone who had lost something he never held. I don't want to be decided over, I said. Jasper's jaw tightened. That's not what I asked. I know, I said softly. That's why I'm answering this instead. Silas didn't move. Jasper's gaze burned. You think he's different, he said. I replied, that he is not asking me to become something to fit him. Jasper laughed quietly. You don't know him. I'm beginning to. And you think you know me? He shot back. I think I know who you are when things don't go your way. His eyes flashed. You owe me nothing, he said sharply. But don't mistake his interest for freedom. He is still a king. I met his gaze. And you are still a prince. The words hung. Jasper's lips parted, then closed. Something like realization flickered, then hardened. "This is not finished," he said. Silas's voice was iron. "No," he agreed. "It's begun." Jasper looked at him, then at me, and turned. His footsteps echoed long after he vanished into the dark. Silas exhaled. "Slow. He will not stop." "I know," I said. Silas turned to me. "Are you afraid?" "Yes," I admitted. "But not of him." "Then of what?" I pressed a hand to my chest. "Of the thing you're pointing at inside me." His gaze softened. "That," he said, "is not something to fear." "What is it then?" He hesitated, then answered. "The reason wolves once bowed." The torchlight flickered. The gallery breathed. And I realized I had never been without a wolf. I had been something older. And Jasper was not hunting love anymore. He was hunting control. And the king who had always watched from shadows was about to teach me how to burn. I did not sleep after the western gallery. I sat by the tall window of my chamber as the night thinned into early dawn, watching fog curl through the forest below the palace like breath from something vast and unseen. Silas's words echoed again and again. "You are not a vessel, you are convergence. The reason wolves once bowed." They did not feel like flattery. They felt like memory. Something old stirring in the marrow of the world. By sunrise, the palace bells rang once. Then again. Then a third time. Not celebration. Assembly. The kind called when something had broken badly enough that it could no longer be handled quietly. A servant appeared at my door, pale and shaking. "My lady, the council has convened again. The king has ordered the lower court opened." I closed my eyes. Jasper. Silas stood in the doorway behind her. Not armored. Not crowned. Dressed simply in black. "They're gathering," he said. "Not to watch. To decide." My throat tightened. "About me. About what you represent." I rose. My legs felt unsteady, but my spine did not. "What did Jasper do?" Silas's jaw tightened faintly. "He went to the houses before dawn. He did not speak of love." I met his eyes. "He spoke of risk." I nodded. "And risk frightens power." "Yes." We walked side by side through corridors now crowded with nobles, guards, emissaries, and pack leaders. Their conversations dulled as we passed. Some looked at me with curiosity. Some with suspicion. Some with something like fear. The lower court had been opened. A vast circular chamber of stone and tiered seating where once, centuries ago, disputes between packs had been settled by howling under the open sky. Now it was roofed in crystal. And filled. They had come in numbers I had never seen. Packs. Nobles. Counselors. Warriors. The air pulsed with restrained dominance. At the far end stood the twin thrones. One occupied. One not. Silas did not go to his seat. He stopped at the center of the ring. And I realized then that this was not a council. It was a court. And courts demand a focal point. Jasper stepped forward from the opposite side. He wore white and silver. The prince of ceremonies. The wolf of expectation. His gaze found me instantly. "Held." "I invoke the right of public claim," Jasper said. The chamber rippled. Silas's voice did not rise. "That right exists to protect bonds. And to prevent destabilization," Jasper countered. "Which is precisely what this situation has become." Silas turned. "You are not claiming her. You are containing her." Jasper's jaw tightened. "She is an anomaly," he said. "The court deserves to understand what she is before the crown allows her influence." A noble called out, "Or before she brings it." Murmurs followed. Jasper's gaze swept the court. "For generations," he said, "this kingdom has been ordered by blood, wolf, and bond. Now we are asked to accept something untested at the heart of that order." He looked at me again. "She does not shift. She does not bond. She does not answer the moon." He raised his voice. "And yet she stands between heirs." Silas did not interrupt. He watched. Jasper continued. "This is not romance. It is disruption. And disruptions either find their place, or they tear everything apart." Silas spoke then. "Tell them what you truly fear." Jasper's eyes flashed. I fear what cannot be commanded. Silas nodded. That is the first honest thing you've said. Jasper took a breath. I fear a crown that answers to something it cannot control. And I, Silas replied evenly, fear a crown that no longer listens. Jasper gestured sharply toward me. Then let her speak. Let her explain herself. The attention slammed into me like a physical weight. Silas turned to me. Not commanding. Not shielding. Opening the space. The world held its breath. I stepped forward. Stone was cold beneath my feet. So many eyes. So many expectations. I thought of the girl I had been. Invisible. Useful. Quiet. And felt something in me rise. Not anger. Not defiance. Presence. I don't know what you want me to be, I said. My voice carried. I don't know what words you expect. Or what shape would make you more comfortable. I met their gazes. But I know what I am not. A murmur stirred. I am not a weapon, I said. I am not a threat. I am not a prize. Jasper's jaw tightened. I am not broken, I continued. And I am not empty. My chest warmed. I lived 19 years believing I lacked what everyone else revered. And maybe I do. I paused. Or maybe I was never meant to answer what already speaks too loudly. The chamber stilled. When wolves enter a room, I said softly, they change it. When kings walk, the air tightens. When dominance rises, the world makes space. I looked around. But when I walk into a room, people breathe. Something in the air shifted. I don't command, I said. I don't conquer. I don't bend anyone to my will. I placed a hand over my ribs. But I feel what gathers between. A low hum began. Not sound. Resonance. Some wolves in the chamber shifted uneasily. Some stilled. You ask what I am, I said. I am not the center. I am the space where centers meet. The warmth spread. Not blazing. Steady. And you fear that, I said, meeting Jasper's eyes. Because it cannot be owned. Jasper stepped forward. You don't understand what you're doing, he said. I understand, I replied. I am refusing to disappear so your world doesn't have to change. Silas watched me. Something in his gaze unguarded. You want me named, I said. So you can place me. I shook my head. I won't. The hum deepened. Somewhere in the chamber, a wolf whimpered softly. Circe, Jasper said, and there was something raw now in his voice. I am trying to protect the kingdom. No, I said gently. You are trying to protect the story that put you at its center. His eyes darkened. And what story is she offering? He demanded of Silas. One where power dissolves into feeling? Silas finally moved. He stepped to my side. Not before. Beside. She is offering a story where power remembers its source, he said. Not blood. Not wolf. But relation. Jasper's fists clenched. You are willing to gamble a crown on her intuition. Silas did not hesitate. Yes. Gasps rippled. And what if she tears us apart? Jasper demanded. Silas looked at me. Then back. Then we were already broken. Jasper stared. You would give her a throne. Silas shook his head. No, he said. I would give her a voice. The hum rose. Stronger. The crystal roof chimed faintly. Jasper's breath quickened. Look at them, he said. They're reacting. This isn't natural. Silas's gaze was steady. Neither is fear dressed as order. Jasper turned sharply to me. Choose, he said. The word cracked. Choose what? I asked. Stability, he said. Containment. A future the kingdom understands. And the other? Uncertainty. I looked at him. Then at the court. Then at Silas. Then inward. At the long ache of invisibility. At the quiet endurance. At the strange peace that had followed my refusal to be small. I choose to stand, I said. The words were simple. They shook the room. I choose not to be placed into stories that require me to disappear to work. The hum surged. A ripple moved through the gathered wolves. Not dominance. Alignment. Jasper took a step back. What are you? He whispered. I met his gaze. I am the question you built your crown to avoid. The crystal chimed again. A deep, resonant note rolled through the chamber. Some wolves sank to one knee. Not in submission. In instinct. The court erupted into chaos. Voices. Movements. Shock. Silas turned slightly toward me. Not touching, but close enough that I felt his presence like a horizon. You feel it, he murmured. Yes. It's not control. No. It's coherence. I nodded. Jasper's face had gone pale. You're turning them. No, I said softly. I'm reminding them. The elder wolf from the council stepped forward, her silver eyes bright. The old records spoke of this, she said. Of those born not with wolves, but with what wolves answered. She looked at me. You are not without a wolf, child. She inclined her head. You are where wolves remember themselves. Silence fell. Not empty. Full. Jasper looked between the kneeling wolves, the elder, Silas, and me. This crown, he said hoarsely, was never meant for this. Silas's voice was gentle. No crown is meant to outgrow the world. Jasper laughed once. Broken. You've won. Silas shook his head. She hasn't won, he said. She has begun. Jasper looked at me. Something uncoiled in his expression. Not desire. Not entitlement. Grief. I wanted you to be something simple, he said quietly. I met his eyes. I was never simple. He nodded once, then turned, and walked away. Not storming, not threatening, leaving. The court slowly stilled. Silas turned fully to me then. And, for the first time, he bowed. Not deeply, not ceremonially, but honestly. My king, someone began. Silas did not look away from me. There is no crown here, he said. He straightened, looked around the court. There is a choice, he said. To govern through fear of what we don't control. Or, to govern through listening to what has always been present. He extended his hand to me. Not upward. Forward. I took it. The hum settled. Not gone. Integrated. The wolves rose. The court breathed. And I realized. I had not been chosen by a king. I had been answered by a world. And the king who had watched from shadows had never wanted to place me beside a throne. He had wanted to step off it. To meet me where power was not worn, but lived. Thank you for spending this time in another world with me. If you enjoyed this story, support the channel by liking, subscribing, and sharing it with someone who loves fantasy romance. More stories are already waiting for you. This is Floxy Shifter Romance Tales, and I'll see you in the next one.